There are moments in a nation's political history that feel like a turning point, not because of a single headline, not because of one speech or one decision, but because everything begins to shift at once. Before we continue, I'd like to ask you a quick favor. If you're enjoying this content, could you take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel? Believe it or not, over 98% of viewers watch these videos without hitting that subscribe button. It's completely free, and it makes a massive difference, helping us bring you more of the content you love. The tone changes, the confidence fades, the questions grow louder than the answers, and for many watching the current situation in the United Kingdom, it feels like one of those moments is unfolding right now. Not long ago, Keir Starmer stood at the center of a powerful political victory. After years of turbulence, uncertainty, and public frustration, he represented something different. Stability, professionalism, a promise that things would be handled differently this time. For millions of voters, that promise mattered. It wasn't just about policy, it was about trust, and trust is the most valuable currency in politics. When Starmer entered office, the expectations were enormous. He wasn't just leading a government, he was carrying the weight of public hope, a belief that after years of division and instability, the country could move forward with clarity and competence. But politics is unforgiving, because promises are not measured by how they sound, but by how they hold up under pressure. And as the months passed, that pressure began to build. At first, the cracks were subtle, small policy reversals, decisions that didn't fully align with earlier commitments, explanations that left room for interpretation, nothing dramatic on its own, but together they began to form a pattern that raised questions not necessarily about intent, but about consistency. And in politics, consistency matters more than almost anything else, because when people begin to feel that direction is unclear, confidence starts to weaken. Not instantly, not dramatically, but gradually. Then came the moment that many observers now describe as a turning point, a controversy involving internal decisions and oversight, complex, technical, and difficult to explain in simple terms, suddenly moved into the public spotlight. Reports emerged suggesting that certain processes within government may not have been handled as rigorously as expected. Now, it's important to be clear. In situations like this, details matter, investigations take time, information evolves, and responsible analysis requires patience. But in the world of public perception, timing is everything, because when concerns emerge, the response matters just as much as the issue itself. And this is where the situation became more challenging. Instead of clarity, there was confusion. Instead of immediate reassurance, there were questions. And in that gap, between concern and explanation, doubt began to grow, not necessarily based on confirmed conclusions, but on the feeling that something wasn't being communicated clearly enough. And once doubt enters the conversation, it spreads quickly, because politics today does not operate in a slow, controlled environment. It moves at the speed of reaction. Every statement is analyzed. Every pause is interpreted. Every answer is compared to what people expect. And when expectations are not met, the narrative begins to change. That change became visible in public opinion. Polling data, while always subject to fluctuation, started to reflect a shift. Support that once felt solid began to soften. Alternative voices began to gain attention. And discussions that once seemed unlikely started to enter the mainstream. Among those voices is Nigel Farage, a figure who has spent years on the edges of traditional political structures, often dismissed by critics, but consistently present in national conversations. Now, his message appears to be reaching a broader audience, not necessarily because everything he says is new, but because the context has changed. When trust in established leadership weakens, people begin to look elsewhere, and that elsewhere can take many forms. For some, it's about finding clearer communication. For others, it's about feeling heard. And for many, it's about searching for direction in a moment that feels uncertain. This is how political landscapes evolve, not through sudden collapse, but through gradual realignment, a shift in perception, a change in momentum, a redefinition of what people expect from leadership. Inside government, these moments are often the most difficult because they create tension, not just externally, but internally as well. Different perspectives emerge, different strategies are debated, and the pressure to respond effectively increases with every passing day. For any administration, maintaining unity during such periods is a challenge, because leadership is not just about managing policy, it's about managing confidence. And confidence is fragile. It depends on communication, clarity, and the ability to respond decisively when questions arise. At the same time, media coverage begins to reflect the changing tone. Analysis becomes sharper, questions become more direct, and narratives become more defined.